Okay. Hello, everyone. We are Ultra Confusion. We're an independent video game news review website. Actually, does that say that? Oh, there we go. That's my sign. There we go. We are an independent.
Wall text.
Oh my God. That's wow. That's like 2 years old now. I need to update that. Okay, so we are an independent video game news and review website based here in Atlanta, Georgia. We've been doing it since 2007, actually. Yeah, I guess you've been there from the beginning too.
Yeah, what?
Okay, so
From afar.
we have hundreds of reviews, blah 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 blah.
500.
Over 500.
Well, he does.
Yeah, I've got over 500 reviews by myself. So what Ultra Confusion is all about is we want to help out the independent developers. So our main focus is on the indie games and not the AAA titles. So you probably won't see the latest Madden 16 or Call of Duty 37 or whatever on the website. You'll see amazing games like Sproggywood, Guns, Gore, and Cannoli, and other games like that, Meltdown, and tons of other things.
Yes.
Anyways, we are here today because of something called the destruction of the game industry as we know it. So, I'm not saying that video games are going away. What I'm saying is that things are changing. They have changed already. The main thing is who has owned a Nintendo, an original Nintendo? Awesome.
No,
Super Nintendo? That's fine.
Close enough.
Okay, so the definition of console, or actually just what a console is now dead. There's no such thing as a console. I know everyone's like, well, you got the Xbox One, the PlayStation 4, or the PlayStation 3. A funny side story real quick about the PlayStation 3 after this, but basically what's happened is the consoles, with the exception of Nintendo, because Nintendo's still Wii and Wii U, if you want to consider that, they play video games. The Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, they're media-centric devices. They play movies, they play your Netflix, your Hulu, your TV, whatever, and then it also plays video games.
It's basically a powerful Roku.
Yeah, basically. The funny thing about the PlayStation 3 is it did not sell at all in Australia until they changed their sales slogan, and basically they had to market it as the PlayStation 3 Blu-ray player also plays games. That's how Australia was able to sell their PlayStation 3s. Otherwise, they had crates upon crates upon crates of it. So, as I stated before, the landscape is changing for the better and for the worse. For the better, it's a great time to be an independent developer. There's tons of different platforms you can produce that you can find games on. You can find on your iOS device, your Android device, your PC,
The Ouya.
The Ouya, which thankfully got bought by Razer, so hopefully maybe something will come of that.
Do y'all know what the Ouya even is?
Yeah. No. Okay.
Something Marines say? That's something.
Is it what?
Something Marines say?
Okay.
Japanese Marines.
I like it.
So the Ouya was one of the first big Kickstarter.
Y'all know Kickstarter
Do we know what Kickstarter is?
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome. Okay. Ouya raised over $1.8 million. I think they were aiming for like 60,000. So I mean, they really overshot it. The Ouya is an Android-based console. It's literally like this big. It's not only the console, it's also the dev kit. So you literally plug it into your computer and you've got your development kit so you can create games for it. The only problem with the Ouya is that once Kickstarting was completed, they decided that, well, everyone knows about the Ouya, we don't have to talk about it anymore.
Which is a problem. Like, I know we at Ultra Confusion, like we said, we like to review indie games. So guess what happened after the Ouya came out? We tried reaching out to the Ouya to be like, hey, we want to check out your games. What's going on?
How
much did we hear back from them?
Goose egg. It took until a third-party PR firm started taking over that we actually got communication. But anyways, the Ouya is a phenomenal device that has a terrible commercial. It's a terrible commercial failure. But of course, there's a ton of other Android devices. A lot of them have gone by the wayside already, but you have the NVIDIA Shield.
Which I don't get, but whatever.
You've got the Steam Box, which
He doesn't like the Steam Box.
it's a computer.
I could do that already. I don't understand.
Well, your Xbox is a computer,
Yeah, but that plays games that can only go on the Xbox.
which are all ported to the PC anyways.
Not all of
That's
them.
because the Xbox is a PC.
Well, yeah, of course. Now, of course, with Windows 10, now it's cross-platform. I mean, that's what they really want. It will once they work out all of the kinks of Windows 10. So,
And actually,
so by the
Windows
time
10
Windows 11 comes out, it
The
should.
10's already better than 8.
I've already heard Windows 10 is actually pretty good. I've heard it's not too shabby.
I heard that they're
long
having
as
a
you're
couple
not
issues
Valve.
with Steam though, but they're trying to work with Valve to try to work out the kinks as quickly as possible.
But if you just bought a Steam box, you wouldn't have issues.
Oh, for the love of God. That's why just with Windows 7. Okay, so as I was saying, it's a great time to be an indie or to play amazing games.
In
that-
general.
In general. The problem is when you go to the AAA titles, it's reboots, remakes, and sequels. That's all you're gonna
And
get.
microtransactions.
Or microtransactions. Well, yeah, they're also going to microtransactions.
And DLC.
Which they hide in DLC.
Like, remember, buying a Nintendo, how many games or patches did you have to buy for your Nintendo game?
Well, you didn't because you have the game.
Well, it was a finished game when it came out.
It's as close to finished as we're going to get.
Whereas nowadays, you buy a game, you're already expecting, guess what? You're expecting day one, there's going to be DLC. There's going to be patches. There's going to be things to purchase in-game. You
Launch
can
day
have new
patches.
cool skins.
Well, then of course you've got the Assassin's Creed Unity, which the vast majority of the NPCs didn't have faces. Well, they had eyes, nose, and mouths, but they didn't actually have the skin on their face. They also had camera problems where the camera would lock onto the character and you could see just over the front of your boot. So when you're trying to do a stealth mission, that's a little bit difficult. And then of course you have Batman Arkham City, or Arkham Knight, where at a great cost to Warner Brothers, they had to pull all copies of the PC back because it turns out that if you touch the Batmobile, it basically drops to like half a frame a second. There was some big uh-oh that they didn't anticipate. Now, of course, if you ran around the city without ever touching the Batmobile or any vehicle, you're fine. But trying to run across the entire city constantly to go all the way over there to do this quest and then go all the way over there, people were getting a little pissed.
We didn't have mounts in my day, and I was fine, man.
Actually, funny story, what's the, not Dragon Age, Skyrim,
Yep.
actually had a bug in it that I unfortunately got caught with, and it was, I was always being pursued, so I could never fast travel. I'm in the middle of nowhere. There's no one around me. Oh, sorry, someone's pursuing me.
What? That sounds pretty annoying.
Well, it turns out that if you had, it's like really weird. If you had a certain quest turned on, if you were tracking a certain quest, and while you were tracking it, you got in trouble, you could never ever fast travel until you got the patch. So that was fun.
But it's also kind of a consequence of the AAA titles, because, you know, we demand bigger and better games every year coming for these AAA titles, because you're hopefully knocking down $60 for the game. So as they become more complex and you got more opportunities for hardware glitches, you're going to encounter these bugs and issues with the games too. So, I mean, yes, the publishers are releasing games before they come out, but it's also, we as gamers are kind of demanding these type of games, are we not? I mean, that's what we want.
Right.
So it's kind of, it goes both ways.
So, real quick, who likes single player games?
That's all right.
Okay. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but AAA studios, they don't want to make single player games. Why? Because, as he stated, it gets, you know, all the games are getting more complex, they get more layers, there's more graphics, there's more story or cutscenes, all that
Stupid
stuff.
storylines.
All that stuff costs a shit ton of money. So what is a lot of the AAA titles trying to do, besides doing the reboots and the sequels and all that stuff, is they're trying to do away with a lot of single player, and basically boil the single player down to the tutorial for the game. What you'll have is you'll have a multiplayer game, which of course plays into the fact that most systems now require online always.
Like School 10.
which we're going to get into that in a second. But basically, what you're going to have is you have your core mechanics, and then 5 to 8 multiplayer maps.
But it's not just this complexity, it's also from a monetary standpoint.
Right.
Because now you bring your, say, Call of Duty online, now all of a sudden, in order to play with your friends, you have to purchase, using microtransactions, those newest maps. And then you also have to upgrade your character and buy the newest weapons, which sometimes, yes, you can get through grinding in-game, but a lot of them also kind of have the feature where you can pay for it quicker.
Well, don't you also have an automatic buy-in effect in that if I buy a single game and I like it, but none of my friends do, you sell one copy. I have to get one of my friends to buy it, so you're guaranteed 2 copies each on the flop.
And you see that a lot like with Steam, what they do a lot of, if you notice, they have to buy the 4-packs. Because they want you to buy the 4-packs so all your friends can play online for that exact reason.
But the other thing is, you know, they love their money. So, you know, the concept of LAN parties and hot seat gaming, which is basically you play on the same TV or same computer, I mean, that's gone because they're looking to buy for at least 2 purchases. And of course, you know, with just having the core mechanics, a couple player maps and a couple different gaming modes, like he stated, you know, you're once the thing is with a lot of these games, once you've bought once, you're going to buy again. And that, of course, goes into the new wonderful and terrible thing of microtransactions, or pay to play, or even worse, pay to win.
Which is basically, I mean, almost every video game, especially for the AAA titles, that's what you're going to get, especially the online games. And a lot of them get you in for free, too. Like, look at, for instance, MOBAs. You got Smite, LoL, Dota, all of those. They're free to play, but then you come in, and, I mean, I finally booted up Heroes of the Storm from Blizzard's, their MOBA, free to play, but a new character is like anywhere between $2 to $10. You look at any of that stuff, and then you get buy skins also. So it's a huge thing every game where even it's $60, they're going to do that. Or you look at MMOs, it's a huge thing too. A lot of them used to be subscription based, and now they're all free to play basically, unless you're World of Warcraft. But every single MMO that's gone from subscription-based to free-to-play, actually ends up making more money in the end. Because people want to buy all those, you know, the fancy mounts and the power-ups for your characters, so they end up spending much more than $14 a month through the free-to-play model.
What are the games? Yes, sir.
Does that also increase is the increased income because they're making more model per person, or is it a first one's free effect where I might not play World of Warcraft because I don't want to pony up $30 for a game I might not like and then have to subscribe, but oh, it's free. If I don't like it, it doesn't hurt them, but if I'm willing to try it when I wouldn't before. So are they getting more per customer, or are they getting a larger customer base, or are they both?
From what I've seen, it's both, but it's definitely a lot of the new players who didn't play before. I've definitely seen a lot of I play a lot of MMOs. He's all about the indies. I play MMOs mostly. But that's what I've seen a lot of is you go free to play, you get that huge influx of new players. And what they really suck you in with is a lot of, if it's subscription based, say getting a mount, for instance, isn't that difficult. But now that it's free to play, getting a mount in game is terribly difficult. And you can't get to like level 60. Whereas you just pay $10, now you have your mount at level 1. And that's where I see when they go to free to play, that's what they really get you with. Is those things that make your life a lot easier. But even players in game who had the subscription model before, it's like, oh hey, I was spending $15 a month. I can still spend that same money in-game currency on other stuff. So regardless, they're definitely making a lot more money off of it.
Well, another thing is a lot of the games out there that are free to play, they have, you know, the in-game currency, and they have like the special currency, like the gems or the diamonds or the crystals or whatever the hell it is. It's kind of weird though. It's a lot of gems, crystals, and diamonds. A lot of whatever.
It's all the same, yeah.
But so what they'll do is the gems, the crystals, the diamonds. That's the one that you use your real world money, and then you purchase like 600 gems or something. And what they'll do is
The what?
Yeah,
The Zynga model.
yeah.
It's the Facebook model, yes.
Yes,
Exactly. Yeah.
And so you start off with some, and then you say, oh wow, this is actually a lot easier if I do this. And you try to. For me, I'm always trying to micromanage that. I don't want to spend all of it. I want to have some just in case. But then once you start buying stuff with that, then if you once you've purchased for yourself, if you've thrown like the $9.99 down or something, you are so much more likely to continue to do that.
Or who's played Candy Crush?
Yeah.
Anyway, nobody's played Candy Crush? They actually have it in-game where if you purchase like helpers in-game, they actually increase the difficulty. So instead of to go through the beginning like that, it starts going up, ramping up that much more quicker.
That's a little obnoxious.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, but it's the carrot and stick approach. It's basically what, like, for instance, World of Warcraft was perfect at doing the carrot and the stick approach. You want to play a little bit more, and it's just gone into free-to-play transactions where they get you that early gameplay where it's not that hard. Those first 10 levels, boom, it's a breeze. And it's just a little bit difficult. So for 99 cents, I'll buy a little bit. And then you just continue to ramp up that difficulty because they got you in with that carrot.
One of the games, this is the one that I have full-heartedly fallen for, and I've spent way too much money on. It's free to play on your, I think it's at least Android and iOS, and that of course is Puzzle Quest, Marvel Puzzle Quest, where you have so many hero slots. Every single hero's got special ability. If you match like a bunch of the blacks or the purples or the yellows or the reds or the greens or whatever, and after a while, there's these hero coins that you can collect slowly over time if you do well enough during like tournaments and stuff like that, or you could buy it with real money. And I, of course, was like, I was a huge comic nerd when I was growing up, so I'm like, oh man, look at that. That's
You were?
that, yeah.
Still are.
Were, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. I still am. God, jeez. Which is why I bought 32 comics at the last convention I was at, but that's besides the point. So, you know, I made that first purchase, and then, you know, I filled out my roster again. And then I need 600 hero coins to expand it, but I only have 550. Well, I'll just buy a little bit. And that just kept going and going and going. Needless to say, I've spent, my wife's not going to watch this, so it doesn't matter, but needless to say, I've spent over $100 on purchases for hero coins. They got me, and that's the model that they're trying to do, and they've made a ton of, if it's you know, if it's attractive enough, and it's done in the right way where it's not an annoyance, where they're not basically trying to pound it down your throat after you've played the first 3 levels. Buy this, buy this, buy this, buy this.
The Zynga model.
Yeah.
Oh no, Zynga becomes unplayable fairly quickly.
Yes.
And that's a lot of those games, it seems like, because they all do that. And that's one of the things I hate about a lot of those microtransactions. They're all based off that either you have the energy model where you only have so much energy you need to spend,
That pisses me off.
or you have like the 5 heroes / card model, where it seems like every RPG on your iPhone, it's like you have those 5 character slots, and then you try to battle each other and level up, and it's all this 2 type of games, and that's what drives me nuts about those.
Where you can buy the special treasure chests that will unlock special stuff for those characters.
Now you get blue cards instead of red cards, and higher level characters, and it's just like, no.
So anyways, the industry is definitely changing, and as we've stated, there's been it's getting a lot more nickel and diming. The other thing is just the simple amount of games that are coming out for like the Xbox One, the PlayStation 4. If you were to look, because the Xbox came out in 2013, if you look at the library the Xbox One has versus what the 360 had during that time period, the 2 years,
Yep.
the Xbox 360 had at least double or triple the library already. The thing is, it's just so expensive to create games, which is another reason why you're seeing this push that's been, you know, completely established on the PC, and that of course is digital distribution versus going into the brick and mortar stores, your GameStops, your Best Buys, all that stuff. And now, of course, you know, you've got a lot of console owners like, whoa, 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 I want the disc. I want to be able to play this game. And of course, the developers, actually the publishers, don't want that because, of course, that cuts into the profit margin, which, you know, you're talking about 350. I mean, you're talking like movie budgets now for video games, which is kind of insane.
And they got really expensive, and then you get, it seems like so much of that's spent on freaking like advertising instead of QAing the game.
But that's the thing. I mean, that's half the battle is all that marketing, all the TV commercials. Which, and the funny thing is the real pay-to-win games are the ones who are really trying to shove the commercials down your throat. Like
what was that game? Age of Fire or something?
With
Yeah.
the blonde model.
Yeah.
Yes.
Kate Upton.
I tried it. That is the most obnoxious game I've ever played in my life. It's the very definition, if you load it up within the first 5 seconds, buy more free in-game gems. I'm like, they're not free. You have to buy it. It's the absolute worst game I've ever played in my life.
So to combat that $60 price tag, because a lot of people are going, well, I'm not getting as much game as I used to for $60. What you're also seeing is the birth of, or I guess the push for episodic content. You've got, and if you want to see how to do episodic games correctly, look at any of the Telltale games. You've got the Walking Dead. You've got, oh my gosh, Back to the Future.
Now, are these all point-and-click type of episode? Like,
Yeah.
what kind of episodic games?
Yeah,
are
you're
they?
point and click.
Okay.
I mean, it's point A to point B. You probably got anywhere from, fingers crossed, 2 hours to 4 hours. You know, so you'll end up with like, there's probably 4 or 5 chapters, so you can end up with an 8 to 16, 18-hour game in the end, and they're giving you little bite-sized chunks. Now, the benefit for an episodic game is, if it's not going well, you can just kill it off, and you haven't spent as much money on the overall thing. Of course, you've got a lot of independent developers who are also going the episodic route, and they do it terribly because they'll send out a game, and it'll be a year later for the next chapter. And there's a game out there, it's called Reversion. The first 2 chapters can be played in one sitting. The first chapter is free, the second chapter is $4.99, and each chapter is about 30 to 45 minutes long.
That's not much gameplay for $5.
No, it's not. And there's no replayability.
So it seems like that's one of the things I kind of like. I don't play as many indie games as Mr. Charlie over here, but I've started playing more, and one of the reasons I like them is you also don't encounter, particularly if you're playing on the PC, nearly as many microtransactions. For the most part, if you buy, most indie games are under about 10 to 12 bucks, but when you get it, that's what you have. You have the finished product. You're not, stuck every 5 to 10 minutes like, hey, buy our new gems in game. And that's one of the reasons I've started playing more indie games lately, is because you don't have to wonder, okay, when's my next big microtransaction going to come up, or when's my next DLC or map? So that's definitely, for me, one of the big benefits of indie games is lack of microtransactions.
And to be honest with you, the other benefit for the indie games over the AAA titles is that indie games, it's make or break for them as soon as they release it. I mean, so it's going to be a more put together game, hopefully, than the AAA titles, where you're going to see patch after patch after patch after patch. And I think that Microsoft actually put their foot down with I think it's Xbox Live Arcade games, where if it's really broken, you have to resubmit the entire thing, and it costs money.
Well, look what happened with Steam with, what's that name of that game called?
Journey of the Light.
So there's a Steam game called Journey of the Light. It came out on Steam, and people bought it. I don't know how much, what was it, $10 to buy?
Yeah, I think so.
And people were playing it, and they couldn't get through the first level.
It was considered the hardest
Difficult,
game
man.
on Steam.
So people were spending, 20, 40, super crazy amount of hours trying to beat the game, drawing up maps of the levels and everything. And then a very smart person ended up basically backward engineering the game and discovered, wait a second, this game only has one level out of the supposed 7 levels of the game.
So there was actually something missing from the code that would allow you to complete the first level.
So we like indie games, but at the same time, you're still going to get those couple of games that are like, wait a second. But to Steam's credit, Steam also refunded every person who purchased the game.
No matter how long they played.
They're like, wait, this is a broken game. You all get your money back because it was broken. So you definitely still get that, but for the most part, you know what you're getting more of.
The other thing is the future is also is going to be the death of used games.
Yes.
As digital distribution becomes stronger and stronger and stronger, of course, since you're not going to be able to buy the disc, you're no longer going to be able to buy the discounted game, which of course, once upon a time I was on the developer side, and I hate used games.
And it makes me sad because on the 360, that's all I ever buy. I love going to the bargain bin, finding my $10 Xbox games. Like, this game was awesome 5 years ago. It's awesome to me now.
So how much of the used game territory with digital content is being replaced by either deep discounts on back catalog on Steam and the equivalent of good old games?
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that just displacing it and letting the developer get the used game tail instead of GameStop?
Right, exactly. That's what it is. So you're seeing that push for the good old games, or the Steam bundles, or the summer sales, which I literally have to turn off my computer or disable Steam during now.
That's
because-
the only time I buy stuff on
Yeah.
Steam. I don't buy anything current anymore because between good old games and I play mostly 4X, which seems to have died. Is there?
4X.
Oh, they're still around.
That's
I get
the
an
one-
invitation to
there's-
Galactic Civilizations 3. Is it really?
No.
good right now?
Oh God, what the hell is the? I'll have to look on the
Don't say
website.
Galactic Inheritors.
No, God, Jesus, that's a 4X game, but don't play it.
Yeah, I know.
I'll have to look. I think it's like Endless Legend. That's a 4X game. It's pretty solid.
Endless Space.
Huh?
Endless Space.
Endless Space.
Do
Yeah.
you still play the
that's it.
Civilizations?
Oh yeah, and actually, you know, I hear everybody complain about downloaded content. I have actually very much enjoyed the downloaded content for Civ 5. I'm not saying everything's been great, but
Right.
I don't know if they've hit the sweet spot in the model. Maybe 4X is harder to abuse with downloaded content. I don't know, but
What do you mean by downloaded content?
add-ons that you buy on Steam.
Okay, I haven't done any of the add-ons to the Steam for Civ 5.
It adds new civilizations for you to fight against. And you think about something like Civilization, a lot of the components are very modular. In Civ 5, the city-states are modular.
Yeah.
Tech Tree is somewhat modular. And the Wonders are modular and all that. And for a lot of that in 4, and I think even in 3, I have to go back, there were ways for fans to add it. They're still
Yeah,
on
I did
5.
add-ons for Civ 4. Like the big one
Yeah.
was the Angels one.
Yeah, and I've paid for stuff on Steam and I have not been disappointed, but it doesn't seem like there's something new that costs every other week either. It seems like every few months there's a big package of stuff.
Well, you also have your option. You know, you
Yeah.
play the game and you still have the base Civ 5 game. So it's not like you can't play.
So I don't play a lot of RPGs or all that, so does downloadable content become stuff that you have to? Because I see that complaint and I compare to Civ or the European Universalis family, which has some downloadable stuff, but those aren't.
I think the big difference, though, we're talking Civ 5, you're talking, who actually makes Civilization nowadays? I don't know.
It's for Axis still. No.
Is it for Axis?
Yeah, 5 is still for
Is it?
Axis.
Okay, so like
But
Axis-
they distribute, they fund it to somebody. I
Right.
think.
So, I mean, they still come up with theirs, and yes, they still have the expansions, but that's for the core game.
Yeah.
Usually the expansions become pretty much necessary, granted, for the Civilization games, especially for the downloadable content. Versus the RPGs, it's like they come out day one knowing you're going to have to buy that expansion. So it's a little different between the two, I'd
I
say.
mean, is there playability that's not accessible?
Yes.
Okay.
So like World of Warcraft, if you're playing vanilla versus Cataclysm.
I would say probably a better analogy would be, it's a game called Dungeons & Dragons Online. So the way that Dungeons & Dragons Online plays, basically you got dungeons, but they're all kind of instance, which basically means it's just you and or your party down there. What they do is it's free to play, but a lot of the content to play, you actually have to buy like this dungeon for $5, this dungeon for $10. So that's where I see a lot of that.
It would be like Civ only came with Babylon, and if you wanted to play a 3-player game, you had to buy the Americans.
Yeah.
Well, they did that with Civ 5. Civ 5, they had a bunch of, they basically, you bought the original Civ 5, but then you had a bunch of races that you could buy later.
Right, but you got a standard size set. There were some classics that were missing, but there's some new ones, but you got 10 or 12 civilizations. when
Well, it's
you
still
bought
definitely
5.
playable.
Yeah, it was. I went years without buying stuff for it.
Yeah. But it's, I mean, pretty much that's how all the big games work, is they have some kind of built-in downloadable content to buy. And you can play with or without it, but that's just where the gaming world has gone to, for better or for worse. Sometimes more like...
So is there somebody you think does that right, that it hits a sweet spot between it being an added value without meaning your initial buy is a poor value?
Well, that's one of the reasons I like to play subscription-based MMOs. It's because for the most part, you're paying that $14 a month. Like right now, I play Final Fantasy XIV. And you play it, and you get all the game content, and there is downloadable content, or you can buy microtransactions, but it's like mounts or skins. And stuff you don't really need to actually play the game. So in that regard, that's why I like doing that, because I know what I'm getting and I enjoy that. So for me, that's a pretty good balance. I think MOBAs do it pretty well, actually. Because you play MOBA and you can grind. Do you all know what MOBAs are? So basically it's, I don't know.
Massive online battle arena.
Thank you. So like the big one's League of Legends, and basically you unlock heroes throughout the game through playing matches. But when you play the game, you get in-game currency that you can use to unlock the characters through grinding, or you can pay money to unlock them early. So in that regard, I like how they do it because you can get it through grinding, or you can just purchase it with your money. So you have two avenues of doing the same thing. And that's with microtransactions. I really don't care if you actually have a legitimate way of doing it both ways.
Well, the thing to kind of go off that, one of the MOBAs out there that's actually developed here in Atlanta by Hi-Res Studios up in Alpharetta is a game called Smite. And Smite's all about gods and goddesses and different deities and whatnot. And what they do is it's free to play, and they have a god rotation. So they'll give you a selection of gods and goddesses that you can choose from, and it'll change. I think it's like every 2 weeks. They'll rotate in new ones so that you can kind of see which ones you like the best. Then of course you can purchase that god so that it's now permanently on your account, which is kind of cool. So it's kind of like a test drive at first before you have to purchase it.
And that works pretty well. And pretty much all of those type of games, the MOBA games do that. They have like some kind of rotation. So you can play all the different characters eventually. So it's another, I mean, it's a game where you have a choice. But the reason I don't mind that versus say like Farmville is you're locked in. Like there's no way you can grind and do certain things without paying money. And that's where I really don't like microtransactions. You have to pay to do it. You can't just kind of grind it out. And that's with most cell phone games.
Which is why Apple has now created the pay once and play section of their App Store, where you know for sure you're only paying once, and then you're good. Unless I guess they could probably add some expansions or whatever, but you're not going to be nickel and dime through the entire thing.
Question?
I was going to say, so among the MOBA games, would you say, just from me kind of poking around, I think probably Heroes of the Storm is probably like the better of those, just because they try and make it as, I mean, there's nothing you have to buy. Like they're always poking you always like, hey, there's a skin and blah, blah, blah. You can't earn this any other way, but at least you don't have to, whereas something like, I remember I was playing Plants vs. Zombies 2, and I got almost to the very end of the game, and my tablet died. I came back to it a couple months later, and they changed it to a pay-to-win game.
Yeah.
Like you get halfway through the game, you literally cannot complete a level without spending money.
I agree, and that's one of the reasons I'll play MOBAs kind of in streaks, and that's why I don't mind coming back to MOBAs, because I know I don't have to purchase anything when I come back to it. Now I come back, and I'm like, okay, still the heroes, gods, whatever we're calling them, depending on your MOBA, I come back to, and I agree, as far as the different MOBAs, Heroes of the Storm, I think, it's not, I don't think, it just is the easiest to get into. It's, as far as the rule set and different ways to go, it is definitely the most kind of simplistic, so to speak, which isn't a bad thing. Because MOBAs definitely get very, it doesn't look like it, but it gets very complex very quickly, which can be good or bad, depending on how much you're going to get yelled at by your team.
So I kind of touched on something a little bit earlier. I want to circle back to it, and that, of course, is the online-only phenomenon that's now taking over the world. Of course, you know, Microsoft, when they were trying to reveal the Xbox One, saying, "Oh yeah, it's going to be online only," online always, and everyone was like, "Oh no, you're going to be stealing all my data. You're going to be watching my girlfriend through the Kinect," and I'm like, are you sure? But the thing is, and this is what really ticks me off, and this is one of the reasons why I like to play indie games, is because indie games, you can play a single player game without an internet connection. Whereas, no, the Ouyo, it goes into demo mode. But like games like Diablo 3, which is a single player game, why can't I play it without an internet connection? That drives me nuts. Or what was the last SimCity? SimCity 4?
That was a debacle.
Okay, SimCity 4, SimCity 4, which is a single player game, to the core, required that you be online. You had to be online to play it. And oh, by the way, there were different servers out there. and they were having problems keeping up with the volume on the servers, so servers were going down at random intervals.
And you had to interact with your neighbors.
And here's the fun thing. Your city was tied to a specific server. So let's say that you spent 20 hours on a city on server 3, and then server 3 accidentally goes. So the next time you log on, the only servers available are 4, 5, 6, and 7. So you choose another one. Brand new city. You have no access to that city that you spent 20 hours on because it was tied to a specific server, which is nuts. To me, I understand, DRM, you want to, do the validation checks, and yes, a lot of games have an online feature, but if it's a single player game, for the love of God, let me play it offline.
That's...
Yes, ma'am.
That just dawned on me. Basically, I've been having this issue. I just got Garden Warfare.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm loving it. But I've been blaming my internet connection, and we've yelled at our internet provider, and I feel bad.
We all do that.
But yeah, and I keep on getting kicked off. So, and that's frustrating because, like you just said, you can't play it offline. Not even the tutorial itself is like, oh, look at this cute little cinema clip, and so it has to do with the servers.
Oh yeah. Very well.
Well, thank you. Now it's
very well.
bad and better at the same time.
Yeah, it's pretty annoying. Or even like we were talking about the Ouya, and the reason I made an offhand comment about the Ouya is, so you got this, little $99 console, and if you're offline on the Ouya, you can purchase all the games you want, but if you're offline, those games all become demo mode.
Mm-hmm.
Which
Not
quite
all of
fun.
them, but a lot of them.
A lot of them, which is frustrating because like when we go to different conventions, we love to bring the Ouya, because it's great to just put at a table and let people play, but we're playing the demo mode in all of our games, which gets kind of frustrating. So even like, this little $99 device, which you think would work, but no, you go offline and the world blows up. It's annoying. So.
I was going to say something else, but I can't remember.
Yeah.
So we have
You have about
17 minutes.
17 minutes?
Or a little bit less. So let's just open it up for questions here. I'm going to give you our information up here. We're on YouTube, we're on Twitter. Oh, god dang it, I forgot Twitch. We're on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook, and of course Twitch. We're Altered Confusion. We do a live Thursday night show at 8 p.m. Eastern Time.
7 o'clock Central Time. I'm from Minnesota, so I care about Central Time.
Okay.
The people might care, man.
Actually, you would probably care because.
See?
Yeah.
Ha!
But anyways, do you guys have any questions about gaming trends or indie games,
Anything?
MMOs, MOBAs? Yes, sir.
So the being online all the time and everybody kind of getting buttered about it, do you think that kind of started with Diablo 3? Back when it was not fun? Not post Reaper of Souls.
I think that it was something that was getting knocked around for a while, and I think that
Your 15-minute warning, that's why I'm here.
I don't think that Diablo 3 started it, but I think that I think because of the sales of Diablo 3, a lot more people jumped on board. Now, of course, all the backlash of what happened after Diablo 3 was released.
I think what really got people the most upset though was Civ 4. Not Civ 4. SimCity 4. I think it's really SimCity 4. I think kind of people have been ticked off about it for a while, but when SimCity 4 came out, and all of a sudden you had, people couldn't get into their servers, and you had issues where your neighbors, because you're in SimCity 4, you always have neighbors, and their pollution and crime and other stuff affects you and your city, even if you don't want them to. It really seems like SimCity 4 is really what brought that to a head, and people have been annoyed. You always saw it on forums with people being, oh, why can't it be a single player only? You've seen it for a long time. I think SimCity 4 is really what got the internet in the biggest uproar because of such an epic launch fail. You have other games, like a lot of MMOs had pretty epic fail launches, but those you expect to be online. So yes, people were ticked off, but okay, it's an MMO, it's supposed to be online. When you have a single player game and it's a fail launch because of online servers like SimCity 4, that's what really got the internet in an uproar. You still go like on Amazon, and it's still like a 1.5 star review for SimCity 4 because there were like thousands of 1-star reviews when the game was first launched because it was terrible. Probably still was terrible. I
That
don't know.
happened with Spore too. I remember Spore had really bad DRM issues. Was that an online thing or just them not programming?
That was just not programming right. Another game that that had that issue was a game which was a terrible game. It was called Elemental. First of all the North American copies, the disc was corrupted, so you couldn't actually, the CD key wouldn't work. So you had to do like a bunch of other stuff to actually get it to work. And then once you got to play the game, there was nothing really happening in the game. And it was really boring. And you just were like, why did I spend all that money?
But-
on that game? Yes, sir.
But they came out with another game.
Well, they
You
basically,
got, what was the one that they came out in lieu of that you got like, because if you bought Elemental War of Magic, you got that other game for free.
Enchantress.
Enchantress, which the lead designer of that actually did the Civilization 4 mod Fallen Angels, or Fall from something. I don't know what it's called.
Yeah, they
It
basically
was
got
big
you
mod
to
for Civ 4.
redo the entire thing to make it actually enjoyable. But I think one of the other big issues that people have, even though it doesn't, it's, you know, we are an online society now. I mean, we do a lot of stuff online. I think one of the biggest things that people were griping about was you have all of your internet providers that have
Data caps.
data caps. And now you've got all these systems that require that you have to be online. And so you've got a constant stream of data. Yeah, it's probably a small amount, but it could add up on top of all the other stuff that you're playing, especially if it's a single player game.
Yeah.
Well, plus people are using, 10 years ago, you weren't streaming Netflix.
Right.
Your girlfriend or your wife's not going to living room streaming Netflix while you're playing something and eating up your data at twice the rate.
Yeah. Try to play your single player game and you can't because they're streaming Netflix, really?
Or the other thing is it's a digital distribution. I mean, you're talking about some really big size games as well that you're downloading and then you have to continue to be online for.
How much of that reaction is just that people are sitting being treated like a criminal? I mean, there's a classic internet cartoon. It's not about gaming, but it's
Right.
like what you have to do to watch a legal DVD.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was it was when that period where they were building the DVDs where you couldn't skip the previews.
Yeah.
So you have to watch 8 or 9 previews and the FBI warning on. It's like how long it takes to watch a downloaded DVD. And it was like, you were punishing people who paid you by making them spend 10 minutes watching your BS to watch a movie. But if I went to Demonoid, which I would never have an account on,
Of course not.
And we don't miss every day.
it's back up. The parts I care about are working. If I cared about the parts
Of course.
of
Hypothetically. Right.
So how much of that on the backlash against that is, I have to be online all the time because you're afraid I'm going to steal the game. Why don't I just steal it then and not pay you? I mean,
Right.
you reach this point, I'm paying to be inconvenienced when I could rip you off.
I hear you say, I think that's probably more prevalent on the DVD realm because what you said, I think when it comes to the gaming, I think that particular rationale of hating online only, I think it's actually pretty much, I think it's a vocal minority, honestly. Because I don't think most gamers really care about that part. And I think part of it is because you look at the current generation of gamers coming up.
I mean, I
Well, that's
hate
all they
Costco,
know.
so
I mean, all they know is online gaming.
Right.
They're used to, they know their cell phone gaming. They know that they're always online. They've grown up in a ubiquitous online world where that's all you do. So I think that's, you have a minority. I'm sure if you go like on Reddit or Dig, you'll hear people complain about it because people complain on everybody on Reddit. But you're going to always have a little bit of that. I think there's maybe a little bit of legitimacy to it, and it is annoying. But I think it's a small minority. I don't think there's too much of a backlash, but when you have something that fails like SimCity 4, that's when it becomes such huge and everybody then takes up arms and the pitchfork. That's my 2 cents.
Or you have all your information on Sony Online stolen, and then you have to deal with credit card companies and credit bureaus and all that stuff to try to fix it.
I always find it interesting that my World of Warcraft account is more secure than my bank account with the two-factor authentication.
who are you banking with? It's not doing 2-factor.
Wells Fargo. Don't steal my account.
No, I work in banking and we just went to 2-factor.
But how
I don't
long
work
ago
in
did you
that
go to
part.
two-factor?
6 months. I've always kind of worried about the fact that
Dialnet's been doing that for a decade.
Yeah.
I mean, video game. It's just kind of funny that like video games, you've been able to do this two-factor authentication for years, and you come to my entire financial resources. If you stole my cell phone, guess what? You could like steal my bank account versus Diablo versus World of Warcraft.
customer base. I don't know why banking hasn't gone completely FOBs. I expected that, and it was not happening.
I would be a fan of it, but
Momentum.
they don't want to change the
our web developers. I'm not in that part, so I can talk shit about them. Our web developers are morons. If you have really good programmers in banking, they get shifted into a quant group in investments.
Is that where the money is, and that's where they go?
Oh yeah.
There you go.
You didn't know that's what you do if you get an engineering degree now?
Apparently, I have to go back to school.
No, you just go into financial engineering.
I don't even know what financial engineering is.
Total tangents, I'm sorry.
That's all right. We do that all the time. We go off on random tangents.
Yes. You'll get to see a lot of that if you watch our show.
So you guys have the inside track. What's exciting coming in 4X? Are we ever going to get Civ 6 or is Civ 5 the final edition with add-on packs forever on Steam?
I think you're always going to see another Civilization in some form or fashion. But even if you don't have Civilization, you have other companies who are trying to do the 4X games. Like Galactic Inheritors is a big one that I see all the time. I think that's what it's called. No, is that what it is? It's like Galactic Inheritors 3, I think. And they're always doing
that's
stuff.
Galactic Civilization.
Galactic Civilizations. And that's a
Galactic
really big one, on
Inheritors.
Steam, big one on Steam right now. I haven't played it, but it actually looks really good from what I've seen. So that's all that's coming out. And there's also going to be another 4X game of some sort. I don't really know what's coming out though, because I think I'm burnt out from 4X games, honestly, because I've been playing since the original Civilization. And I've just played so many 4X games where I'm like, okay.
Yeah, the thing is a lot for since we focus mainly on indies, indies are the vast majority of them are going to be point-click adventures because that's the easiest because you're going from point A to point B, and so it's really scripted. You can't really bust out of that mold, so it's easier to catch.
And the one 4X indie game we played was terrible.
No, the endless ones are indies. Both endless games are great.
Wait, no, what's the other one I'm thinking of? That
We're
was
thinking Galactic Inheritors.
yeah, that was terrible.
We keep circling back, and the funny thing is, to this day, I've been promising to write a review for it for almost a month and a half now, and I can't do it. It's got a great backbone. It is really in depth and got all this stuff, but dear God, they did not have like a gameplay programmer or something, because they've got all the parts, but it's not fun.
Have you ever played Master of Magic?
Yes.
Okay, I was gonna say if you haven't played it, it's a game from like the '90s. Back
love
when
it.
Microprose was a thing.
Man. I'm telling you, when Good Old Games came out,
Yeah.
that was like, and I've noticed some of the things that I've gotten on Good Old Games are now bundles on Steam, which I never saw on Steam before.
Yeah.
So people are seeing and I'm thinking they're thinking the back catalog will have better sales on. But I think Good Old Games and the bundles on Steam are kind of the new golden age of 4X, because it's stuff I couldn't afford 15 years ago.
All the
Yeah.
Master of Orions.
Yeah, I have all the Master of Orions. I only have the first one because you can only spend so much. I bought them all for like $20.
Yeah.
And actually, I've started playing non-4X from Good Old Games
Playing what?
non-4X
Okay.
because I never got into it. I never got into online or computer role-playing games because I'll tell you, role-playing games are something you play with people at the table. The best. Have you seen the D&D ad that slams World of Warhammer?
No.
About 10 years ago, they had a classic. I think it was the best D&D ad ever made. It's a guy, and you can see the basement window of the moon streaming, and he's the computer. And all it says is you're going to sit in your parents' basement and pretend to be an elf, at least invite friends over Dungeons and Dragons.
Nice.
And I did think that was the greatest ad of all time. So, but
I was that kid in my parents' basement.
No, you were over at my house playing a pencil and paper
I was
RPG.
saying playing World of Warcraft.
Oh yeah, that's it.
But I've loved GOG because I've actually gotten some computer RPGs. I'm like, these aren't too bad.
Yeah, they got some
But
definitely
at
some good classics.
$2.99, I can take a shot at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I saw your hand go up.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So, since the very sad day when THQ folded, I've been kind of waiting for some some good Warhammer stuff to come out. So it doesn't look like Sega has done anything since they acquired them except for some crappy Android games. Have you heard anything about like Space Marine 2 or anything interesting?
So the only Warhammer game that I know of that just came out, or is coming up and but it's for the iOS, and it's not Warhammer 40K. It's like the other Warhammer.
I like the old school Warhammer.
It's
Like-
called Arcane Magic. I'm going to be honest with you. It's not the prettiest looking game. I don't know. There's a lot of THQ properties that I want to see come back, and they're not. They're just kind of, twiddling their thumbs. I think if the fan base were to scream and start yelling and stomping, then something would happen with whomever owns the rights, but I don't see anything happening. Okay, we are basically out of time, so if you have any questions or whatnot, or you want to find out more about independent games or us, our website is alteredconfusion.com. We are on YouTube. We do playthroughs. I do a little bit that randomly pops up called Something Slightly Different. We also do quick peeks for games that do not require a playthrough. I am not going to do a playthrough for real-time strategy game. I myself would basically beat the crap out of myself for doing it. And then of course we have, like I said, we have a live Thursday night show every single Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central. And if you don't catch us live on Twitch, all the videos go up on YouTube. I cannot promise how fast they'll get up there, because last week I actually posted the previous week and the week before. And of course we're on Facebook. Like us. Hopefully you enjoyed this, and of course if you want to talk more about video games or whatever, come find us. We're going to be here almost the entire time. So thank you for coming to our panel. We have a panel tomorrow called So You Finished Making Your Indie Game You Think You're Done. It doesn't have to be digital. It can be pencil and paper, board game, or it can just be an independent project. We'll help try to navigate you through some of the pitfalls that could occur. So thanks, guys.
Thank you for coming.